Welcome, warriors, with skin as melanated as the day is long. You are now tuned in to The Crossroads, where sustainability meets social justice, knowledge is power, and we are breaking down stereotypes, one episode at a time. Welcome to The Crossroads.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Crossroads. I'm your host, Rashida Green, and I am being joined by entrepreneur, by wellness and love enthusiast, mom, everything. What is it? Mompreneur, just like
mompreneur.
Yeah, the whole thing. Miss Australia, Impersonated Beauty. Friend, hello. How are you doing?
Hello. I am grateful. Peace and blessings to all of the listeners that are going to be tuning in on today.
I'm excited. So we have a lot of things to talk about. You and I, we have catch up. It's been a little while since we've chatted, but before we get there, we're going to give some flowers. And this is the part of the show where we honor someone either in our lives or someone that we haven't met that has had a major impact on us. Do you want to go first?
Oh, no, I'm gonna have to think about it because I can't narrow it down right now.
Okay, no worries. I have mine on deck. So I'm going to give flowers to Tina Turner. Since we are talking about wellness today, we're taking this from the environment, from the external environment, talking about the internal and talking about wellness. I thought, you know what, we should honor someone who has had a very serious series of struggles in their life, but who overcame. I'm like a massive Tina Turner fan. I mean, 100%. I mean, talk about being able to manifest your dreams through very, very adverse circumstances. So I just wanted to honor her.
And those flowers look good. We love you, Tina Turner.
Oh
Tina
my God.
Turner, like a legend. I mean, and just aside from her music, like you said, you know, just knowing her personal story and what she's endured and what she's, you know, come into.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing for me to witness that in any woman. Like, I am inspired by women that come out through the fire or know how to walk through the fire, however you want to say that. But like, it is truly inspiring to me.
Agreed.
And you don't have to be a celebrity in order to inspire me.
That part. And that's important.
Mm-hmm. So I did figure out my person, and the person that I'm going to give flowers to is Queen Afua. Queen Afua, her birthday was literally yesterday. And, you know, just talking about, you know, the wellness, the self-love, the self-care, like her teachings have really helped me understand myself at a whole nother level. Like, I'm just thinking about tearing up a little bit because like when I first started like really digging into my self-care journey, I was introduced to her book, you know, in a couple of her books actually that I have. And those were actually a couple of the books that you would see in my background if you were ever able to catch my little bookshelf, because I still refer to it even now to this day, because, you know, evolution of self is a continuous and infinite process. And, you know, one of the things that she always talks about is that you should always be growing. You know, if you're not growing, then you're dying, right? And it could be spiritually, it could be mentally, it could be physically, and it could be emotionally. So I would give my flowers to her. And I even, you know, acknowledge her on my social media pages. And I was just like, you know, it's an honor to be able to witness her greatness while she's still alive.
Yes.
You know, I have not had the opportunity to physically like meet her face to face, but I'm still, you know, hoping, let's manifest that moment comes true, because that is going to be like, ooh, oh my gosh. But you know, it was a life changer for me, especially being someone that grew up, you know, from a religious background, you know, just having to open my mind to certain things and having confirmation on certain things that I have been idolizing as a child. You know, like I said, it just really helped me move forward. And when I started learning more and digging more into the information that she was sharing, I was just like, okay, I see how this applies to my life. Oh my gosh, I want to share this with other women. So that really helped move me and propel me into, starting my brand, Persuaded Beauty, along with other things.
And we are going to get into all of that. So I wanted to start off by talking about, as we were kind of getting into, about the different aspects of wellness, that there are more to wellness than just, your social or your mental wellness, that there's other aspects of it. And I wanted to tap into with you what you have been doing to maintain your personal self-care. Like, what is it that you have really, even if it is like you mentioned, like Queen Afua and her books, or even just her amazing channel that I watch on YouTube. I've been really keeping up with it because I just find it to be so enriching. So I want to give her some flowers as well, because I have just found her recently, and I'm really starting to like let it come through. That's why when you said it, I was like, because I was going to bring her into this conversation as well, because I think we really have to make sure that we're honoring our practitioners, like what you were saying about being able to give that person flowers and hear them speak while they're still living. Because for a lot of our elders, we don't have that, So I wanted to know from your perspective, what have you been working on in whichever aspect that you care to share to kind of help you on your journey, because you've changed your life around, right? Like you were working a traditional job and you've transitioned into being an entrepreneur. And yeah, I'm probably just more so talking than asking, but I just want to preface, because I really want you to, because we're getting in deep, right? So I just want to.
Yeah. So that me getting into that, or what I'm actually doing is, it switches up. It's not just one set, ritual that I do, because it depends on what my circumstances are at that time. But for the most part, as far as like getting back to the basics, it's just, having that alone time with myself. I am a woman that likes to have my alone time.
Me too.
And I have gotten more comfortable with saying that. And it's to the point to where like my family knows, like, when I want to have my me time, they already know, hey, you need me to come get, my son or anything. So they're very supportive about that. And that is another thing that kind of helped me as well, is just relying on my tribe. And, your tribe can be whomever you feel are safe people. It doesn't always have to be family. It could be a coworker. It can be a church member. It could be somebody you met at a networking or a public space. Like, it's somebody that is unbiased, somebody that is supportive of you and your goals, somebody that wants to see you win, so it's important to lean on people. And statistics show that when you have a tribe, a team of supportive people, and it could be even just 2 or 3 people, like it doesn't have to be a whole group of people, a posse per se, but it could just be, like I said, those safe people. But when you have a support system, you are known to bounce back from the challenges of life. So that's what I've been doing. I've been, spending time with myself. I've been journaling. I talk about that often, about just addressing my feelings. It could be in that moment or something from the past that could have crept up, and I'll journal it because it'll help me, manage it, understand myself a little bit better. And it also releases things. Like, it's another form of releasing what is bottled up within you. So that is really good. And also, doing what I love to do, indulging in my creativity, which is makeup for me.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I've been doing to stay grounded, whenever I'm presented with challenges of life. Now, as far as like the fancy frilly things, yes, I have started to, really incorporate the self-care, the physical self-care aspect, as far as like going to the spa, going to a masseuse, getting my nails done, and trying a new skin or body treatment, such as like a yoga wrap, where they cover your body with, I said yogurt.
I was like, what? I'm like, do they wrap you with what? Like a burrito? Anyway, carry on.
No, girl, it's yogurt. So they cover your body in yogurt and they wrap you in some foil, and you just sit there and you just let the nutrients soak into your skin. So like just trying different things, but I also have to be realistic with myself, because I think that sometimes we tend to glamorize what self-care is to just the fancy, the fancy things or the spa days, or, it's not just that, it's more than that.
Yes, a lot more than that. And to get specific and to be specific, there are 5 categories of self-care. There's mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and physical. And so we can't, like you're saying, overindulge in one over the other. We have to make sure that we're doing things in balance. And bringing Queen Afua back into the conversation, a real important way that she emphasizes that is with what we eat, having a very major impact on other aspects, other areas of our lives. And getting back into you and definitely into Persuaded Beauty, you have made that transition into doing this full time. This is your brand that you are nurturing and growing and cultivating. And I would like to know, when you were in the transition period where you were working, going to the punching in to a job, what was it that made you say, okay, that's enough. I think I'm ready to go out, and do this and pursue my passions full time?
Well, before I actually started doing it full time, I was doing it simultaneously, with working in corporate. And well, before I get into that, I wanted to add one more aspect of the social care, which is financial. Mm-hmm. The financial aspect is definitely important.
Yes.
And it can affect you. Like when your money is funny, you may not be the best person to be around, or you just want to stay inside, you tend to be a hermit. I don't know. But, the financial part, or the financial piece of self-care, is very important. And just understanding financial literacy and knowing how to be stable, is a process, because everybody is not, doesn't have that type of knowledge. And some people just don't know where to go to get that knowledge. So I just wanted to, add that part in there about the financial piece, because it is very important. And I'm not talking about like money has to be the only thing that you're thinking about, but it is important to be stable, especially in these times. And if you are someone that has been, stable during the whole COVID thing, you need to pray your blessings and give gratitude right now.
Every day. Every day. I give gratitude about that every day, because I know, and I think that's something that really is impactful to talk about, is really just the level of gratitude that you likely had to have already in place before you even could say to yourself, okay, now I'm actually ready to get out here. Because you had to just kind of realize that, at least, and hopefully I'm not projecting, but you had to realize that you had to have a certain baseline of gratitude, that you recognize that there were folks, for whatever reason or whatever circumstance, might have a little bit harder than you. And that's, so important to emphasize. I just wanted to call that out and say thank you for bringing that into the conversation.
Yes, right. Having that level of gratitude. And speaking of gratitude, I'm grateful for my mother. She started me, or I feel like I have a piece of her entrepreneurial spirit. As a child, I always remember, her having a couple of jobs, and even one point when, my grandmother's health started to decline, she even turned the garage into a child daycare. She couldn't leave the home. So she had to find out a way, to use her skills. And she literally turned the garage into a child daycare.
Wow.
Area. And she was a preschool teacher, so she had experience of working with children. And I mean, it was amazing, so I like to think that I have, some of that from her, and just wanting to create that generational wealth. I knew that it was something that's not necessarily talked about in my family space. That's not a conversation that we sit down and talk about, but just from other inspirational people that I've, follow, I've learned, that it's important, and it's something that I want to have eventually. So I just had to start chipping away at, changing my mindset, changing my environment, the people that I'm hanging around, networking with people that are going places or are in places that I want to be, and just surrounding myself, with those individuals and that type of knowledge. And even still now, like it's still a process. And thank God for technology, because they have platforms like Clubhouse where you can jump in rooms and gain information. They have YouTube, of course, but they also are mentors out there, business coaches. I've had the opportunity of, working with some and actually coming into contact with some. So, I mean, there are a lot of different things that you can do. But before I got to the space of where I am now, just, solely on my business, it was a lot of things. I think that a part of it was I kind of got forced into it because it's part of my destiny and I was ignoring it, not wanting to do the right thing. And, it's like when you're meant for something, it's going to keep coming at you until you acknowledge it. It's going to keep coming,
hitting you in the face when you least expect it, like during a meeting, for example. Just kidding.
So, I just had like some tower moments and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to put my big girl panties on and move forward with this. And it's a lot of work. I want to let people know that listening, that if you're thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, please do not be, caught off guard by the glamorization of it. It is a lot of work. And it may not be physically, but it is, like mental work that you have to put in, the spirit. You're going to have to, you're going to have to learn how to be tough. Yeah. It's not for the weak. It's not for the faint of heart. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. But I would encourage you to have a plan. If you are someone that is thinking about going into entrepreneurship, if you've been, wondering if this is a sign, yes, girl, man, this is it.
This is your sign
right now. But I just, would encourage you to have like some type of plan. Don't just jump cold turkey into the water because you might drown.
Quite frankly. And, and there's resources, I think, like, for example, I'm probably going to get the name incorrect, but I think it's called the Business Model Generator. It's like a book and it's fairly interactive and it goes through each step of what you need to do if you're thinking about developing a business plan, like what's your value proposition, what is it that you're bringing to the market, what's your product, and helps folks break it down. And so speaking of books, are there any books, either it doesn't have to be strictly financial, but are there any books that you found were really helpful to you as you were continuing in your growth?
Yes. The first book that I actually picked up it's called Women Winning at Work. And this is by a business coach by the name of Tiffany Washington. She's actually been on my podcast before, a couple of times actually. And her book was like a 21-day challenge. And she basically was just coaching those individuals that are still in corporate America, but wanted to transform into a business owner. She shared her story of the struggles that she faced, because she too was someone that was in corporate America and transformed into a business coach now. And her book really gave me insight. It really helped me with coping in the workplace and just learning how to set aside that time. Like, okay, look, if you don't have time, I'm a mother. So if you don't have time when you get off work, then take that break that you have at work to set aside your plan for your business, or, just figure out what your theme is, or your business plan, or your mission statement. Like, just work at it somehow, but find time. So that would be a book. You can find it on Amazon. It's called Women Winning at Work. Another one is called Bold Mindset by Thesha Jenkins. She is my actual coach. She is an emotional intelligence coach and a domestic violence advocate. And she comes on my page as well. She's been on my podcast as well. And I really was attracted to her because she focused on the emotional intelligence aspect.
Which is very important.
Very important.
Ooh.
Girl.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, wow. Okay. Yeah. You know what? This is essential to know. You need to know how to, go about certain situations, regardless if it's personal, business, or whatever. So her book was just basically focusing on just being bold and what you want, what your message is, who you are, bold in your authenticity. So you can also find that book on Amazon as well. And of course, there's like a whole bunch of other books out there. The Four Agreements was another one, because in business, you're going to come across all types of people. All right. And they may not necessarily, be aligned with what your goals and what your mission is. So you have to know how to like not take certain things personal,
yes.
Just be impeccable with your word, which are a couple of the agreements, and, so on and so forth. So that is a really good book to get and just help you with just understanding things and learning not to take it personal.
I like that. And actually, just a quick thing I will say is that if folks want to get books from, like, there are ample Black-owned bookstores. One specifically that I frequent quite a bit is Loyalty Books. So if you want any of these titles that we're talking about, which I will put a link in the description box, but if you want to get those books, if you want to do Amazon, I do it on occasion because sometimes I need my things when I need my things.
Okay.
I'm human, y'all. I'm a person. So I don't always, but if you want an alternative, I will provide some. But thank you for like giving those books. Are there any that you would find that are maybe like sort of like for your grounding, for your like spiritual grounding that you found to be really helpful?
I was just thinking about that. It would be the Queen Afua book, Heal Thyself. And that just, again, comes from the mind, body, and spirit. It's just talking about grounding and how to heal yourself through what you eat, what you consume, and not just, as far as food wise, but what are you consuming? Like, what are you listening to? What are you watching? Things of that nature. And then the Logical Journal by transformational coach Ebony Monroe, sorry. She has a journal called the Logical Journal. And this is not just your average journal, okay? This is an interactive journal where it has prompts, and assignments for you to address yourself, to ground, and to just really reflect on things that, could be going on in your life. That is a great journal. Like, you need to get this journal. Like,
I'm thinking about it. What did you like about it? Like, what was it that really drew you to it?
Well, what drew me to it was the fact that I'm supporting a Black woman that I know. And two was just the interactiveness of it, like the prompts, like it really breaks it down. I don't want to get too much of it, but
okay.
Like, she just really gets into the psychological aspects of, how to address certain situations or just reflecting for yourself. It builds your coping skills for life. And journaling probably sounds so elementary, but it is so essential and so effective.
And you know what? And I just have to say, like, we are very much so in the crossroads because we have brought in a lot of different elements into this conversation, particularly how folks can take greater stock into their self-care beyond just the surface, right? Like, we've been very intentional in this conversation so far to highlight the importance of doing the big things, but also really getting down into like the real things inside that we kind of can mask a little bit with some of the fancy, glamorous things, right? And so when we're talking about, the journaling, I really would like to know, like, what are some of the specific journaling techniques? I've heard different things, like there's manifestation journals. If you want things to come maybe for the future, like you write down, oh, I'm so grateful for this, I'm making this up, for this Ferrari that I have. It's so beautiful and shiny, to just act like you already have it. What are some other journaling techniques that you use that you found to be effective?
So literally, like, one of the prompts is going out in nature and, sitting there and being still and being quiet for at least 30 minutes before you start to journal. And that is refreshing. That was refreshing for me. That's one of the prompts that I actually love. Who doesn't love being in nature? Like,
I don't know that person.
Being in greenery, you got some fresh air, COVID-free air. Too soon,
girl. I might too soon.
But yes, it's a beautiful thing, to just be outside, Also, there's different types of meditation, like wind meditation, like for instance, you could be outside and the wind is blowing and you can close your eyes and you can envision that the wind is wiping away all of the negativity that you could have in your mind or that could be in your body, any pain or anything like that. You can just visualize, the natural element of air, just releasing those things for you. And it is actually a freeing experience. It doesn't have to be, a long, excessive period of time. It could be maybe 5 or 10 minutes, whatever is suitable for you. But the point is for you to just get out, connect with nature, and just be.
I love that. And I think that actually brings in the importance of nature and that we do rely on it for more than just, what it provides us, that it's actually a place where we are renewed, and we show our gratitude back to the environment, to the world, by exhaling, putting that carbon back out into the atmosphere where it belongs. Not as much as is currently in the atmosphere, but that's all right. I mean, not for long, according to Bloomberg. It's real bad. So that's another thing that I want to talk about too, is that, there's a lot of, I feel like we are, without getting too meta, that we're in a place where we're trying to shift. Like there's a major shift happening. There's been a few major shifts happening. And I think people are wanting to have more access or more understanding of like, how do we get through it? We went through a year and a half and probably are still kind of going through this time of this pandemic where things are very uncertain. And I know, at least for me, that I had to do a lot of introspection in order to come out of the other side. So, here we are at a point, a pretty pivotal point. What are some things that, as we're getting kind of closer to the end of summer, we're getting closer to the start of a new chapter. What are some of the things intention-wise that you are trying to set for yourself as we're kind of coming into our harvest season?
Ooh. So for me, it's more of just, figuring out what I really want because, things change, circumstances change. And for me, my circumstances have changed a lot. Like losing my mom has been really tough for me. And not only that, but, walking away from certain environments such as corporate America. Like when we talk about grief, we some people just limit it to just when you lose a loved one, but grief comes from letting go of relationships, letting go of environments, realizing that you didn't mean that much to this person that you thought you meant, right? It can come from so many different types of circumstances. It was a little bittersweet moment because I was so comfortable and so familiar with this old space. So I had to get into that mindset of just embracing, what's to come, the newness and the unknown. I've had to learn how to embrace the unknown. It can be a little bit scary, but it is also just a revolutionary thing, to embrace that.
I love everything that you said. That is so spot on. It's very, very funny. I was in a similar situation before I moved into my current place. I was there for about 10 years, just a very long period of time. And it was interesting because I was in a different mindset of just, telling myself why I needed to stay there for so long. Like, oh, I have to stay here because, it's close to this, or, I can't afford to live. And just in this mindset, this cycle and this mindset. And it's very interesting. Like one day in particular, I had just the notification in my hand to say, let's renew this lease or for this amount or that amount. And I just thought about it and I'm like, no. And it just, you get to a point where you're just like, I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm not going to keep telling myself the same story. I need to sow a different seed, like I need to think a different thought. And finally I was in that place to do it. And it was hard. It was hard even when and another thing I've had to learn too, is just learning the timing of when things are to be shared with others.
So you're not alone.
It's crazy. Like you really have to, really kind of sit with something for a while before you're actually prepared to share it with other people. Because sometimes if you share it too soon, they are quick to tell you why you can't do it. Oh, well, and it might be too soon for you to do that. Did you experience that when you were planning to transition into, your own business?
Yeah. And also, adding to that, I also learned that everybody doesn't deserve your vulnerability. It's a gift. And it's just like, sometimes I can be vulnerable as a way to show transparency and connecting. And like you said, you just have to know when to, share certain things and when to be reserved about it, because, everybody who's listening may not necessarily care.
Yeah, that's very true. And everyone's going through their own thing. And that's something else we kind of found out too, is that in through this pandemic, that everyone's going through different things, and how they managed it varied, how they could manage it varied. A lot of folks didn't even have any time at home. Like a lot of us have been able to enjoy being at home and enjoying that level of freedom or comfort. Yeah. But a lot of people that never changed, they didn't get a break from having to be out in this world.
Yeah, it's a process. That's kind of like the way I can sum it up. Like, it has been a process, and like you said, it has been definitely an awakening for all of us, because, and I think we talked about this before, we had to sit with ourselves. A lot of us had to sit with ourselves. Literally, we was forced to sit at home and sit with ourselves.
Like, who are you?
Right.
Who are you really?
And another reason why, I just became passionate about mental health, because I really feel like your mindset has a lot to do with your progress, your success, and just progression in life. You got to switch it up. You have to switch it up. Like, you cannot be who you were 10 years ago and apply it to how, the way that the economy or, society is working now. For instance, my mom, how she would approach parenting, it would not work with my son now. I do parenting differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But
yes,
it's okay.
It is completely okay, because that is something that I think we as a community have to work on, is that the things that our parents did are probably not going to, a lot of it is not going to get us to the next level. It's not. It's right. What they had to do. It was what they knew based upon what they had at the time. But we have a lot more access than what they had, and a little less stigma. I mean, I think we have to, as we're talking about this conversation and bringing in, our experience as a community. I mean, going to therapy has only been normalized somewhat in these last few years, and people who are hard and fast against it are still likely hard and fast against it. Yeah. And I know that's, the boomers are very, staunchly against getting that care that they need, which, as, offspring of a boomer, that's difficult. That's challenging, especially if you can't be close to them in proximity, And so I just wanted to bring that in, as we're talking about that, because there is a lot of negative stigma about seeking mental health resources. Like, there's stigma around it that you can't, I guess, balance yourself,
And that's so not true. Like, yeah. I'm currently in therapy. I just got back into therapy, and
same.
I go to therapy because I get to learn about psychology. Like, you get to learn how the brain works, how you are triggered, your triggers and things of that nature. They also help give you a plan, on how to address your triggers, your traumas and things of that nature. But there is all types of therapy. Let's just get into that. It's not just you going in, sitting on a couch, talking to somebody, and they're making their observations. There are so many types of therapy out there, which is another reason why I feel like talking about mental health is important, and just self-care, because there are so many forms of it out there that can be according to, your style, your personality. I also feel like it's important to talk about therapy and mental health, because you do not have to accept what is given to you. You can be just as picky with your therapist as you are with your selfies, your underwear, your stylist, whatever. Like, you don't have to just accept what's given to you. Therapy is not just someone, putting you on meds. You don't have to take the meds. Like, there are different coping styles that you can do and choose to address what it is that you're dealing with. And so it could be something as simple as laughter. Laughter is a form of therapy. It really is. So, indulging in things that make you laugh or in things that make you feel good. It could be something as simple as coloring, just to get your mind off the stress. We're not saying ignore it or avoid it. We're just saying,
find other ways to cope, to manage it.
Right. Yeah. So, therapy is a resource, and that is the main thing that, I like to highlight with that. So, that is one reason why I started my podcast, Stop the Stigma, Change the Narrative, because I actually wanted to highlight people that are out here in the healthcare sector that, show their different types of styles and their approaches, and also to showcase that there are individuals out there in our community that look like us, that are out here doing the work and willing to support you, because it's important. And you already know that it's stigmatized in our community for a number of reasons. We've literally been told that, no, you're not strong. Like you said, you're not strong enough if you express a moment of vulnerability, which is human of you. So, and it's also good to know certain behaviors so that when you're in, life, going through certain circumstances and in situations with people, you know how to acknowledge it and address it, and you're aware of it. Like projecting, you can, when somebody's projecting on you, or when somebody is gaslighting you. Yes. Gaslighting is, when somebody has done something to wrong you, or they cross the boundary and you confront it directly. And it could be respectfully as well, but because they don't want to accept it, they're basically, being dismissive, and that's not okay. Right. So it's important to go to therapy. You learn a lot in therapy.
Yes, you do. And there's different methods, because we know that therapy can be pricey. It can, if you find a therapist that you really like, they may not be within your network for your insurance. So you may have to pay out of pocket, and that's expensive. So, there's other resources. There's a woman on YouTube, Dr. Ramani. She talks a lot about narcissism. If folks are having that challenge, that's a resource right there that can, help. And, you'll be through the magic algorithm of YouTube. I'm sure you'll find other things too, but and that's free, and
they have like Talkspace, they have apps. So thank God for technology, because there are so many things, so many apps now. Like, you don't even have to go into an office. You can just pull up an app. You can call up a therapist, or you can text a therapist. Like, it's so many options out there available for you. So don't feel like you have to be limited to just one way of therapy. Yes. Like, there's also CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, where they just focus on, rewiring your thoughts and things of that nature. There's tapping therapy, tapping on certain places of your body kind of just wakes your nervous system up and helps you, just kind of reset a little bit. Yes. I mean, there's acupuncture. I mean, there's Reiki, energy healing, aura and chakra clearing and things of that nature. Sound meditation, where you're going in and you're listening. Someone is
singing bowls.
Sound bowls, like that is so therapeutic. That's one of my favorite therapeutic measures to, indulge in. And you can listen to that at night, because frequencies are very powerful.
Yes, they are.
It's powerful. And what comes from music? Frequency. So I learned about, the different frequency tones and how they can help trigger certain, positive things within you. So it's a lot out there.
Yes. There's a lot. And I appreciate you bringing all of that into this conversation, because this is a variety of ways that you can get that. There's apps for that. Like, I personally like Relax Melodies. I know one day they're going to pay me. I'm going to manifest that. But, I love sounds, like different things to help me fall asleep. I am in therapy as we both discussed. And, I find that having someone to talk to help me work through things is beneficial. So, but I understand as well that it is expensive. It can be expensive, but there are, as we've discussed, multiple methods and ways that we can, find help and get the help that we need. Mm-hmm. So, Australia, girl, I have enjoyed this. Where can people find you? Are you have anything cool and awesome upcoming? I feel like you do, because you always do.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, no. Right now, I don't. I am trying to just like I said, I'm settling into a new place. I'm in mommy mode, making sure my son is good and prepared, even though, it's going to be homeschooling and stuff like that. You can find me on Instagram under persuaded_beauty. And you can find me on Spotify or any podcasting platforms. The name of my podcast is called Stop the Stigma, Change the Narrative. And it is where I collaborate with advocates such as Rashida and community, advocates and just respected individuals to come on, and we talk about the many things under the self-care and mental health umbrella, and also share resources. You can find me on Facebook, Persuaded Beauty. If you are someone that's interested in having your beauty persuaded, as I am a makeup artist,
yes,
and also specialize in lashes and brows, you can find me on Style Seat. I did have a website, but girl, the website, that is a whole depressing kind of thing.
It's
right
fine.
now.
But so are my eyebrows. It's fine.
But it is going to be up because, on my website, I did have like a whole list of resources as far as therapists, counselors, business coaches, speaking specialists. I had resources for apps, as well as hotlines that you can call and text lines. No one has to know what you're going through. You can text these people anonymously. But if you are connected with me on Instagram and you check my stories daily, then you can find these same resources on my stories, because I post it there often, and I normally get comments and DMs from people, just sharing their stories with me and asking for resources. So that was another reason why I started to be a mental health first aid, because people were like, how are you so positive? You're always this, you're always this. I'm like,
you are.
I'm just like, hey, it's my faith. Sometimes I don't even know sometimes, but it's my faith. It's my self-care plan that I have.
It's your aura. It's your light.
It's my life. Yes. But I was just like, okay, well, if a lot of people are coming to me with this, even though I literally promoted myself as a makeup artist, maybe I should, start indulging into this more. So I did, and I found out that I can be a mental health first aid, which I am. And that does not mean that I'm a therapist or a counselor, because I'm not. Right. It just means that I am someone that is, able to identify when someone is having a mental health decline. And I am that person that can direct you to those professionals, that can support you if you need extra support. So it's a beautiful thing. And I love it because, this is also teachings and things that I can pass down to my son. And it's so important because he is, a Black man growing up, in America. And it's important for him to be, emotionally available, know himself, know how to express himself and things of that nature. So, I'm grateful for the information that I've learned, because I get to share that with him. And it's been a blessing. So I just encourage y'all to do the same, because you are going to face challenges of life. You're going to face challenges, and you're going to have, something other than a prayer. Let's just be realistic. You're going to have something other than to me like that.
I'm not.
Prayer with faith without works is dead.
Cup of tea that
faith without works is dead. It says that, you have to put in the work. And I don't want to sit here and be, passive about the work that has to be put in when it comes to this.
Yeah. I mean, and you're not just talking about from a personal perspective, you're also talking about entrepreneurship as well. Like, you have to be willing to put the work in. And also, just a word that I have to get out is, I think we see so many examples of what hyper success looks like. People who have either, for whatever reason, manifested massive like commercial or social, wealth or success from that regard. And I think that a lot of times we don't focus on the fact that there are other areas that need to be cultivated along with that financial success, that, material success. And that if you don't really have that in balance, it's not really all that great, is it? And we can see that on so many examples we're being exposed to from the media, social media, and things of that nature. So I just wanted to.
Yes, and success, it looks different for everybody. You may not want to be somebody that just get 7 figures. You may just want to be stable enough to take care of you and your family and be comfortable with living your life and doing what you want when you want. Yeah. And that's fine too, you know. So I think that you cannot get caught up into the hype again, you know, just around the, you know, the business owning part. You know, you really have to go into it knowing what, you know, your plan is and what you're doing this for, in addition to wanting to inspire a group of people or service a group of people. You know, what is that goal for yourself? What is the ultimate goal that you have for yourself and your family, your legacy? So yeah, that's a great point that you pointed out. That's important. So yes. I hope that, you know, this information that I'm sharing is touching somebody that's listening and has inspired you or made you have an aha moment or think differently about something, because, you know, it's important. It's important for your evolution. And yes. Self-care is a new relationship goals, which is what you see on my shirt. And that's something that I had to tell myself, you know, when I found myself going through the transition of my transformation. You know, like self-care is a new relationship goal, because it really is. Like, when you know yourself, you are able to bounce back from anything. Yeah. You are able to bounce back, and it's just so important. Self-care is also knowing who you are. You know, when you know who you are, it doesn't matter what anyone says about you. They can run your name through the dirt in a pipe.
Not a pipe, girl. Like Shawshank.
The pipes in the ground, you know, like it's dirty down there.
It is very dirty down there. You are correct.
Right. So, you know, and you could just stand on your authenticity and your code of honor, and you're able to move forward and not care about what people say. And you're going to have tough skin, like we said earlier, being a business owner, thick skin, you know. So
listen, this has been, I know for a fact, without a doubt, that someone's life has been touched. If I know mine has, every time you and I talk, it's always something, you know, uplifting or enlightening that is shared. So I have no doubts that the folks that are listening are getting something that they needed as well. So Australia, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, and I promise I will come and allow you to do some sort of makeup exorcism on me. Like, but I just want you to know, like, people have to drag me kicking and screaming with makeup. Like, it's not in a negative way, but no one's ever like impatient, but just, it is going to be a lot of a what, do what, wow, a lot of that. So
it's okay. Like, you don't have to feel intimidated at all. You know, a lot of the clients that I work with are everyday women, and they don't necessarily wear makeup every day, and that's fine, you know, but I do my best to make my clients feel comfortable, and I want them to feel comfortable when they walk out and leave from my chair. So it's all about you being comfortable. So I'm looking forward to our brow tutorial.
Oh, girl. Because these brows are like Jumanji right now. It's the distance and the lighting.
Oh, it's helping you out. Okay.
God bless it, because it's doing it. It knew the assignment, but up close, Jumanji. So, all right, but I'm going to get persuaded. I think I need to be more than just persuaded, girl. I need to be forced. Anyway, Australia, thank you so much for joining me, and everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you at the crossroads.